it was this crazy, wild dream. It was so perfectly executed, and this just raised the bar again.
What a cool moment to be able to see what Ray Evernham has done with all these IROC cars, and the burnout that Jeff Gordon did at the end was pretty awesome.
Talking about Max Verstappen, the big news going into the weekend was that he has renewed his contract with Red Bull Racing. Welcome to Speed with Harvick and Buxton, fueled by Poet.
Let's talk racing, Will. Big weekend.
Oh my God, huge weekend, huge week.
Yes.
Like, you told 10-year-old Will, growing up in England, that in a week I'd get to turn on the lights at the Empire State Building, open NASDAQ, go to the White House, visit the Capitol, like do all these crazy things, and then watch a race around Washington, D.C. And my daughter got her exam results and she aced them. And my little boy said his first word and it was Dada. And so it's like, it's literally been the most amazing week. Like, I've had the best week ever.
That makes things go a little easier,
mate.
To get excited about the weekend and the next week. And
crazy. You
got to have those moments in racing because it doesn't always go that way.
I know, man. I know. Just an amazing week of like pinch me moments. And I think the race in and of itself was a pinch me moment because it was this crazy, wild dream. And even a couple of weeks ago, I think people were being like, yeah, that's not going to happen. That's not going to go off without a hitch. And it did go off without a hitch. It was so perfectly executed. It was such a brilliant celebration of America, of American racing, and just kind of like bringing everyone together for that last event of the 250th birthday celebrations. It was just awesome.
Yeah, and you know, I think watching. I watched all the build-up. I followed your social media and all the things that were happening. And, you know, I think when you're trying to put on an event of that magnitude in that specific area, the thing that I've learned through the years, every time that we've had a president at a race or at an event, or you go to the White House and do all the things that you do, it's always pretty organized. But, you know, I think after last week with all the trouble with the track getting done, I think everybody had just a ton of questions. But what a spectacle. And anytime you can have an event and the race is almost secondary, and it pull it off like that, pretty amazing.
And you got to take hats off to Budanka, to Roger Penske, to Eric Shanks. He gets to go home now after like 4 months of living in DC. But yeah, Eric Shanks as well, because you know it was Eric and it was Bud and it was Roger got together at the start of the year and they're like, what can we do to celebrate America's 250th? And they're like, let's do a race in DC. And the original plan was actually to take it around the Capitol, but they couldn't get it through Congress because you can't have advertising around the Capitol because the original route was different to what it ended up being. So then through a couple of contacts and whatever, they took it to the president and the president was like, this sounds cool, let's do it. Executive order comes through. And then you get a Democratic mayor who loves the idea as well. And in a city that is so often renowned for division and argument, you actually had both sides of the aisle coming together to work together to bring this thing through to fruition. And it was wonderful. And I met so many people over the weekend, Democrat, Republican, people from out of town, people from town, and everyone was just enthused about the fact that there was this race happening. And I met people who'd never even been to a race before. It was their first race weekend ever. And for some people, it was their first time seeing race cars. They were just like, I don't normally watch racing, but we knew the race was happening in DC. We went into the lottery. We got the tickets because all the tickets were free. And the whole thing was privately funded by Roger and then bringing in the sponsorship to make it happen. What an event. Just what an event.
And that's really what you want racing to be, right? Like all the politics and things that happen in that city or really anywhere, right? Like we have our own politics in racing. You want people to be able to show up to an event and say, wow, look at these teams and cars and all the things that are happening with this event and be able to enjoy the moment.
Yes.
And that's really what I wish sports in general was all the time. And racing does a great job of that, to be able to bring the people, especially when you get new people, to be able to show up at a racetrack that had never seen a race car and learn to understand that it's not something that's out of two guys' garages or just showing up with, you know, your car and a couple of guys. Like it's a major
it's elite
operation to be able to do it at a high level.
240,000 people over the course of those 2 days. And as you said, like a free ticketed event. And a lot of people after that weekend hoping that it comes back. And I'd love to see it come back. You know, you get a sponsor on board for the future or whatever, you know, they can make up the, you know, what Roger had to kind of go into his own pocket.
A lot of unique sponsorships that I hadn't seen at a racetrack before.
Mate, some big brands that I've not seen, certainly in an IndyCar race before. I don't even think at a Formula One race before. Some really big brands getting involved with it. So I'd love to see it come back as it was. We got a really, for a street race, I thought a really good race. Alex Palou on the pole could have wrapped up the championship. As it was, Kyle Kirkwood, we call him the king of the streets for a reason, right? He's so naturally brilliant on street circuits. He took the lead right from the start, right down there at the first corner, and he never really looked back. He led pretty much the entirety of the race, was brilliant on restarts, actually got passed once on the restart by Scott McLaughlin. Briefly. Yeah. Who outbraked himself in a turn one and straight into the wall, you know, maximum send from Scott. But Kyle was perfect all day. What a fitting result that our king of the streets, young American, should take the win. And in so doing, cut the gap back to Alex Palou, who had an uncharacteristic shocker of an afternoon. I mean, shocking. He hit someone else's tire on pit lane and got a penalty. The team then didn't secure his front left tire on a pit stop, and then he put it in the wall. Like 3 mistakes. You don't see 3 mistakes out of Alex Palou in 3 seasons, let alone in one afternoon. Very uncharacteristic for Alex Palou.
In my opinion, when you get into these marquee races like this and there's so much on the line, the drivers feel that. They want to win these types of races of just being unique and unique spots and all the attention and everything that's going with it. Puts a lot of pressure, especially when you don't have the dominant car, but you definitely don't see these types of mistakes out of Palou very often.
Andretti, a force, once again, all 3 drivers in the top 4 positions.
Will Power's on a roll.
Power's on a roll, 3 podiums in 3 weekends. Absolutely sensational. Christian Lundgaard for McLaren was second again. Yes. Showing just how phenomenal he is.
All the questions that we have about him not being there anymore just keep showing up week after week.
What a talent they're letting go. But yeah, I loved it. It was really fun to be a part of it. And Kyle, who I was with in New York, who helped to kind of open the NASDAQ and turn the lights on and all of that at the Empire State. What a week he had from lighting up the Empire State to lighting up the streets of DC, bringing home the win.
His week got longer.
Didn't it just?
Yeah.
But and I think, you speak to drivers like Will Power and Scott Dixon and guys who've been doing this for over 20 years in IndyCar, and they were all saying that this is on a level with the Indianapolis 500. That's what the presentation was. Kind of the hoopla around the race and all of that. Who knows what the number will be, but I hope people watched it and I hope that they enjoyed it. And I hope that as IndyCar, we were able to deliver something befitting America's 250th birthday. It's the last big, sort of celebration piece in Washington, D.C. For America's 250th. So, yeah, man,
looked like Monaco to me. Like, it just had that, it had with the president sitting there and celebrating and waving the green flag.
And everything in the background, the shots. Down Pennsylvania Avenue, around the National Archives, past the Smithsonian, past the Capitol building. Like, dude, it was so cool. It was so cool. And actually, we're going to hear from Zach Brown from Arrow McLaren later on in the week on Wednesday's show, because I interviewed him in DC, and he was like, we don't have this in Formula One.
It's a big statement.
How rare is it that you can say that IndyCar has something that Formula One doesn't? A brilliant event. I hope we go back. They've got the fences, they've got the walls, they've got everything now. They could do it again. But it begs the question for me of if you can do this in DC, you can cut through the red tape and do this in DC, where else could you do it?
Anywhere.
Right?
Yeah, and that's the thing that we've talked about on here before with even NASCAR, right? Like going to these markets where, we don't have a track. The street courses open up so many opportunities to be able to cut through that red tape and be able to put yourself in a position to have those marquee cities and places that you have a lot of fans, you just can't figure out how to get a race. And I think that is something that we've talked about for a number of years, to be able to get the fans and the street courses, just to get to those fans that you might not otherwise get to be able to get those street courses in places that you might not otherwise.
Well, and we talk about it a lot, don't we? We talk about racing in the Northwest. We talk about racing in the Northeast as well. And I know it's not northeast. It's closer than it's been.
You can go as far northeast as you want right now if you really want to keep going.
But we're almost in the Northeast in DC, and it was just a brilliant event, and loved every second of it. And I got to say as well, a huge thanks to the boys and girls in blue that were there, all of the police forces, National Guard were out, obviously. Secret Service did an amazing job over the weekend, and everybody sort of came together, and it was a seamless event. So, huge thanks to everyone for keeping us safe over that weekend and bringing that thing to its conclusion. It was a wonderful a week I will never forget.
Bar set pretty high.
Well, this is it now.
Yeah, this is the bar.
I mean, we thought we had a new bar in Arlington, and this just raised the bar again. And if this is to be the new normal for IndyCar, there's nothing that the championship can't attain in the next 5 to 10 years. This should be the new base level of what every circuit should look like, of how every circuit should be put together. It was, and obviously, Penske perfect.
Right.
But that's the foundational principle now, I think, of what everybody has to do.
Right. Because
you can't have a race that was that good and then go back to somewhere that just looks tatty and old and it doesn't really work properly. You've got to just raise the level now to this, because that was a global event, a global quality race that would have looked right on a NASCAR schedule, would have fitted on a Formula One schedule. It wouldn't have looked out of place alongside a Monaco Grand Prix, a Singapore Grand Prix, Las Vegas. That race had its place at the absolute pinnacle. It was phenomenal.
Well, it was spectacular to watch. And I think that, when you look at those types of events, and then you have a secondary event.
Well, before we get to that, we should probably hear from the race winner, Kyle Kirkwood.
Yes.
Because we've kind of sort of rushed past that. Obviously, an American winner of the Freedom 250. It was about as perfect a result as we could have had. So before we move on to that, let's hear from Kyle Kirkwood.
As an American, absolutely dominating this race. Just talk to me about the emotions you're feeling right now.
It was definitely emotional when I got out of the car, right? To see the president sitting over here cheering me on. I never thought I'd have a president cheering me on in a motor race ever in my life. I've had a lot of dreams come true, and this is definitely the pinnacle of race wins that I've had in a dominant fashion too, right? It was not an easy race, 147 laps around any track. It's a very, very long time, and we got through it though. Unscathed, held off on some restarts. We had quite a few things thrown at us, but we kept our nose clean.
But as you say, there was more than just IndyCar on the streets of Washington, D.C. And Kyle Kirkwood was not the first winner on the streets of Washington, D.C. He will be forever the winner of the Freedom 250, but not the first winner on the streets of D.C.
No, he was not. My retired counterpart there, Jeff Gordon, actually won both.
Well, this was another
races.
pinch me moment for the weekend, mate, because I got to see Jeff Gordon race in the flesh, which is something I never thought I'd get to do.
And when you look at these cars going around, it brings back so many memories for me, because IROC was just always part of the footprint when a NASCAR race was around. When you went to Michigan or Daytona, Talladega, some of the places that we've gotten, and to see them on a road course, I remember seeing them in the early days on a road course, but to be a part of this event with Jeff Gordon, Kurt Busch, Helio Castroneves,
Tony
Kanaan, and the names that they had. They only had 8 cars in the race, exhibition, I guess, as they called it. But what a cool moment to be able to see what Ray Evernham has done with all these IROC cars, and the burnout that Jeff Gordon did at the end was pretty awesome.
It was pretty awesome, but he did the burnout on the start-finish straights. Look, right here, over the beautifully painted Freedom 250 logo. They had to go back and repaint all of that overnight between Saturday and Sunday.
You know what? That's part of the show. They've got plenty of paint. And as a driver, you don't even worry about that. You don't want to burn out over the bricks, but a little bit of paint, they can fix that no problem.
That was a pinch me moment. I never thought I'd get to see Jeff Gordon race, let alone, it was like watching Hendricks play, just Just
And
so
kudos to
cool.
him for stepping outside the box to be able to, to have the guts to get back in the car and go do that type of an event. And Bill Elliott in the race, Rusty Wallace. Funny story. Rusty Wallace, he called me a couple months ago and he's like, Kevin, I need some help. I'm like, what do you need? He's like, I'm getting ready to race and I think I want to wear my glasses and my helmet. Can you help me out with what I need to do to get to that point? So it's pretty funny, right? When you have somebody like Rusty Wallace, who hasn't really driven anything in a long time. And like you said, for the fans to be able to see Rusty Wallace, Bill Elliott, all these guys race a car and at that caliber of an event is pretty amazing.
It was really cool. As a result of that, both Kyle Kirkwood and Jeff Gordon are in the vote this week for your driver of the week. We had to put Jeff in there. When are we ever going to get to put Jeff Gordon in the mix for driver of the week again? Maybe never again. But we've had a question in.
Okay.
We don't normally do this till later in the show, but we're going to do it now. Why didn't we see Kevin Harvick in the IROC cars this weekend? It's a great question, Kevin.
That's a great question. And Ray actually called me to see, to see if I wanted to race. I actually have 2 IROC cars that we've restored and put together. And Kurt, he owns that car that he's been driving. Ray owns the other one. But it was Keelan's first attempt in the late model stocks for the Cars Tour race this weekend. So I needed to be with him but they did invite me and I'm not saying I will never do that. It's just got to time out right.
Would you have beaten Jeff Gordon?
The thing about that is probably not, because if I'm driving my own car, I am definitely not interested in tearing it up because it is absolutely beautiful. It's the car that
if you were driving someone else's,
maybe if it was one of Ray's cars, we might drive it a little harder and not worry about scratching it up. But I would not drive my car. It's immaculate.
I love that. And like driving around Washington DC, would you love that?
I don't like driving around Washington, D.C.
No, not normally, but like when it's unlimited and you can drive as fast as you want.
I think any time that you can go be a part of an event like that is just to be there the first time. There's nothing like the first time. It would be great again, but just knowing all the hoops that you had to jump through to get it to that point and pull all that off and be able to have the celebrities in the IROC race, past drivers and just all the people that were able to be in attendance at this event. And what a great moment for motorsports in general. Not just great moment for IndyCar, but for globally for motorsports to be able to say we can put this race on at this level around our capital. It says a lot about, Trump and his organization and Penske and their organization and everybody that had to sign off to do this race was fun to watch.
It was incredible. I really hope that we go back. But it wasn't just DC where we had racing this weekend. NASCAR, of course, Cup Series was, I actually watched the race in the airport. Loved it, especially the conclusion, mate. Talk us through it.
Yeah, it was Ryan Blaney went on to win the race, but this was, the sun is out right here in this particular video at the end of this race. And this race actually started in the wet. And New Hampshire in the wet is very unique because it's got the apron with really old asphalt, and from the third groove to the wall is really old asphalt. So what happens in the rain is everybody goes to the apron and everybody goes to the top of the racetrack, and it dried up really quickly. They ran like 45 laps and were able to to start putting slick tires on, and then the racetrack started to really dry out, and it became more traditional at the end. Blaney put 2 tires on at the end. Bubba Wallace was running him down. Blaney was having a tough time in traffic. Bubba made one massive mistake with like 5 to go when he slid that left front tire, just trying to get too much.
It was like 3/10 behind.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I saw that lockup, I was like,
over.
I might as well go to my plane now. It's done. It's done. I was gutted for him because that finish was great fun.
But I love the fact that we're able to start our races in the wet to be able to,
because they brought the start forward.
They pushed the start up thinking that they were going to need some more time, hoping that there's no lights at New Hampshire. So you've got to get the race done before dark, and we've been right to the limit there a few times when we have these types of situations. So in NASCAR, you can run, it really comes down to the spray. So if the spray is too much, that's when you can't run. The rain tires are great. The cars actually drive really, really good in the rain. And, so they got the track just to where it didn't have any standing water, and then they turned them loose.
It's an interesting track. It looks like visually more like a road course than an oval, just in terms of
Very flat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very flat, just in terms of the pavement. Perhaps unsurprisingly, I don't know, but like in the damp conditions, it felt like SVG was better in the damp than he was when it got
SVG was definitely really good at the beginning of the race when it was still completely wet.
Yeah.
And he was able to get himself up to the lead and put himself in a position to lead a bunch of laps there early. But as the track started to dry and the rain tires started to wear out, you started to see the handling of that car fade. And then once it went to slicks, you really started to see the cars that had the speed from qualifying start to show back up at the front of the pack. But right off the bat, we had Tyler Reddick.
Yeah.
These are the moments that if he's going to have a chance to win the championship, he's going to have to control the situations like he had at the beginning of this race, where he had the lead and spun out all by himself, leading the race, put himself to the back. He was able to recover, but those are the moments where cars spinning around like that, and somebody can just T-bone you or wipe you out in an instant, and those are the mistakes that he's got to clean up if he's going to compete with these guys.
Denny Hamlin secured regular season championship.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much over. Oh, it is over. And I think that Denny, he's had a couple of mediocre weeks, and I think the interesting part that we've seen right now are these Fords that have showed back up.
Right.
And we've seen the Penske cars do this before. Now they got to do it over 10 weeks, but they have just been right at the front of the pack, winning races over the last 6 weeks with Logano and now Blaney. So we knew Ryan Blaney was going to be a contender. He's been a contender all year with his speed. Logano, the only thing that's going to hinder Logano as we go forward is if he doesn't get far enough up in the points. He's the only guy that I would say that's outside of that top 6 that will have a realistic shot at winning that championship. So he's found some speed, and Ryan Blaney's going to be a force to be reckoned with as you go through the playoffs, as he has been for the last several years.
And we head back to Daytona.
And I think this leads right into their hands. The Penske cars and the Fords in general have been really good at the super speedways. You've got the bubble spot down there with SVG and Ryan Preece. It's like 31-ish points, I think, if I'm remembering that correctly. So it's going to take, well, it says right here, 31 points.
There you go.
All I got to do is pay attention. Yeah. But as you go into Daytona, Ryan Preece is going to have a great day where he scores stage points in both stages, has a chance to win the race, and if not win the race, in order to, and SVG is going to have a disastrous day to lose those 31 points. But you got to remember, on the driver's side of things, Ryan Preece had a 25-point penalty at the beginning of the year.
Of course.
When he got his hand slapped there a little bit from NASCAR. So, you hate to see it come down to the penalty dictating what driver makes it. It's only a driver penalty. So on the ownership side, he's really still in the mix to really make the playoffs or to make the chase for on the owners championship side of things. So interesting. Go to Daytona. A lot of things out of your control, but it's going to come down to those guys for that final spot in the chase.
Awesome stuff. Truck Series.
Truck Series, they were at New Hampshire as well, and we've talked about Layne Riggs being one of those trucks that is the guy to beat as you go down into the chase and go down to the end of the regular season. Obviously, put on another clinic up there. That front row motorsports truck team has just been on point. He and Chandler Smith have been really, really stout throughout the whole season. And, I think that Honeycutt had some trouble at the beginning of the race. I don't know if he had a flat tire or what exactly, tire going down or what was going on at the beginning of the race. He fell way behind, was able to rally back. And I still think, in my mind, those are the two guys that you're going to have to beat to win this championship. But 34 truck is on a roll.
And then we had the Kyle Busch Invitational.
What a neat event. They had this legend car event for the legends and bandoleros at Bowman Gray Stadium.
Perfect.
And I was like, I don't really know how this is going to go, but typical Legend Car fashion, they put on a great show, and were able. I think they had a little over 50 cars, Legend cars show up, and any time that you put Legend cars on a short track like this, it's going to get physical.
Yeah.
But what a great night for Brexton and Samantha to be able to celebrate Kyle, and they had a great crowd. For a Friday night Legend car race before the season finale that they had at the stadium with the modifieds and everything else that they run locally. Ran these cars on Friday night. Brexton raced right towards the front of the field, and was able to celebrate with the fans and have a good time with his mom to celebrate his dad.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's so lovely. Absolutely brilliant stuff. We move on to the world of Formula One because it was the Dutch Grand Prix this weekend, the final time that Formula One will be racing at Zandvoort, certainly for a few years at least. And Max Verstappen was hoping to go out on a high, hoping to give his home fans something to cheer about, and he retired at the end of the first lap, just put his right tires down onto a damp part of the track. It had rained just before the start of the race, lost it. Massive impact. So rare to think of a time when Max Verstappen has made a mistake and put himself out of a race, certainly in that kind of a fashion.
That's got to be one of the most unique corners in F1.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is just a really fast, unique corner. Massive hit right there. But
named for Arie Luyendyk.
He definitely didn't want to start the race that way, but he definitely figured out what it was about to get that new contract.
Started and ended the race at the same moment. Massive period of red flag as they got everything sorted and got the car done. And when they finally got back to racing, Lando Norris, reigning champion, made it back-to-back wins from before the summer break to after the summer break, showing McLaren have certainly found something to take the challenge to Mercedes and to Ferrari. He was wonderful. Look at this. Like he didn't have it handed to him. He had to fight for it. Passing Kimi Antonelli, he later passed Lewis Hamilton, who still had another stop to take. Some controversy in the race. Is it controversy? I don't know. Mercedes switched the drivers at one point. George Russell was ahead of Kimi Antonelli. Antonelli was on fresher tyres, and so the team told George, let Kimi through, let him go after Lando and try and win the thing. Couldn't get past Lando, but still came home in second, whereas Ferrari dithered on getting their drivers to switch positions, and Lewis Hamilton was not happy about that after the race. Felt he could have been on the podium had they switched the drivers earlier, because he only finished, I think, within a second of George Russell for third place.
And at this point, they're running out of time. I mean, Mercedes is trying to protect Antonelli winning the championship. Is that fair to say?
I think they thought that he had a good chance of chasing off after Lando. Lando and George were on old tires. Mm-hmm. So Kimi being on the fresh tires, you're like, well, let's give him the best chance. And is that kind of like that championship mentality of we're thinking about the team, not what's going to piss off our drivers. We're thinking about what's best for the team. Whereas I think Ferrari dither because they're worried about upsetting Charles or worried about upsetting Lewis. So they don't really know what decision to make. And it's kind of like that no man's land that McLaren found themselves in over the last couple of years of not wanting to upset either driver. And so they face indecision on their pit wall decisions that ultimately leaves both of them out to dry. So yeah, Ferrari need to kind of get that champion mentality if they're going to.
Yeah, I mean, because overall, Kimi extended his championship point lead by the time that he left. He did exactly what he needed to do on a day that he didn't win. He didn't win.
No.
But they maximized the day with everything that they could.
And that might be the one thing that kind of saves Antonelli's bacon in this second half of the season. If Mercedes have lost the advantage, and I don't believe for a moment that they have, just as we see in IndyCar that all the other drivers taking points off each other has allowed Palou to run away in a season where he hasn't appeared as dominant. So the same might be true for Antonelli. If you have a scenario now where McLaren have got a car that is clearly capable of taking race victories, Ferrari managed to get their heads together and get back to winning races, where Red Bull and Verstappen on their day can still win races. If those guys are all taking points off one another, and Antonelli still extends without winning, then it's a good day for Antonelli. I still think Antonelli's favorite in this second half.
I think he has to be.
Undoubtedly.
Yeah. And I think he's gonna win a few more races before we get to the end of the year. And it's just like we just talked with Tyler Reddick. It's just preventing those catastrophic moments.
Yes.
That's really all he has to do to keep himself in that position.
You mentioned it when we were talking about Max Verstappen. The big news going into the weekend was that he has renewed his contract with Red Bull Racing. Perhaps no surprise there. I think we've been talking about it a lot, and we couldn't really see an exit route that made any sense for him at this juncture. I think the length of the contract is the big surprise. He's locked in now until 2030, which is a huge amount of time to lock himself in, not just to the team, but to Formula One. But as he said, look, it was basically either leave Formula One or stay with Red Bull. I wasn't going to go anywhere else. I'm a Red Bull guy. I promised Dietrich Mateschitz before he died I was never going to race for anybody else. This is my place. This is my team. And I believe they can turn things around. It is certainly a vote of confidence for the Formula One regulations. And that Max Verstappen believes the FIA and F1 themselves are taking the sport in the right direction and possibly made some changes this year immediately after the controversy and the disappointment with the new regulations at the start of the year, that they've moved in the right direction. Because otherwise, again, as we've said, he'd be off doing something else if he wasn't happy. So a shot in the arm for both, and that will take Max Verstappen through to 2030 when Formula One's due to make its next big regulation change.
Do you think he wins another championship?
Good question, mate. He clearly believes that the strength and depth at the team exists to take them back to winning championships. But when you look at who they've lost in very quick succession, it's a tall order. But then I think back, and the difficult thing in Formula One is always making big leaps within a regulation cycle. But then I look at McLaren, and I look to how they went from being back of the pack, literally slowest, with a car that was falling apart, and when it wasn't falling apart was slow, to winning a title in the space of 2 years. It is possible, and you can do it with the right leadership, with the right people. And I think Max clearly believes that Laurent Mekies running that team is the guy who can do that and turn that team around. So that's what I'm saying. It's a real show of faith.
So do you think a lot of the antics that we've saw with Max over the past several months, do you think any of that was negotiating?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
So some of that had to be negotiating. Now, the flip side to that, some of that has hurt the people that they have retained, right?
I'm sure.
There was some question. There had to be some question. We all had questions as to whether he was going to stay or go. And now it hurts you losing some of those key people.
Undoubtedly. I think most of them had kind of decided to go anyway. I think they've managed to hold on to a couple of people that they thought they might have been losing. Maybe some of that was down to them knowing that Max was going to stay after all. But he's got, it's reported, this is wild, when bonuses are taken into consideration, 100 million reasons for staying.
Yeah.
A year. Not for the entirety of the contract, a year.
That's unbelievable.
Isn't that crazy?
It is. That is. I read that and I was like, man, I went into the wrong form of racing.
That's mad.
Yeah.
Even for Formula One.
Yeah.
That's mad.
Well, it's very important for Max Verstappen to stay as long as he can because of he's a big key
for the sport. It's huge
to Red Bull, but he's a big key to F1.
Yeah. It's absolutely huge.
Yeah.
If you lose a world champion from the sport because he decides, I don't like the regulations, I don't want to be here anymore, this isn't the sport that I love, that's a big blow. That's a difficult one to, PR your way out of.
Yes.
So, yeah, all good.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Lots of interesting things happening in the racing world right now. Hey, Speed fans, this show is fueled by Poet. Poet's zero-carbon bioethanol gives NASCAR drivers the octane they need with zero carbon intensity. When it comes to performance, you can't beat zero. Learn more at poet.com.
Social Speedway now. This was a fun one. We've interviewed him and he's going to be on the show later this week. But Zach Brown was seen FaceTiming somebody with the president. Now we know that Zach is amazing at marketing, but if you can tell someone who's going to come and sponsor your team, hey, I could get you a FaceTime with the president. That's
Who do you think he was FaceTiming?
No idea. Who knows?
Who would you FaceTime? You'd have probably FaceTime home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Probably. Yeah. I would have. I probably would have. I would have FaceTime my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
He likes Trump. So
That's
I
great.
would have FaceTime my brother.
Good stuff, though. I mean, two guys up there just having a good time.
Yeah. Two race fans. I mean, and let's be honest, Trump loves his racing. He's been to Daytona, been to the Miami F1.
I've been fortunate to meet 3 or 4 presidents, and that's the unique part. You see it.
Can we just
No,
for
listen.
the humble brag?
No, but I'm going to brag
I've met
on
3 or 4 presidents.
No. I'm going to brag on them because of the fact that they are all normal people when you get them in those settings, right? Like you see all this stuff on the news and everything that happens, but when they're talking to you, it's just normal conversations. They're just people. And that's the great thing that I like in that video right there with Zach and President Trump.
Well, how do we know it was a FaceTime? How do we know he wasn't showing him a TikTok?
Yeah. Could have been anything.
Right?
Yeah.
Could have been some funny video. Who knows?
Yeah. But I just love that when you get normal guys around somebody who's not necessarily seen as normal, like President Trump, and they're just up there having a good time as 2 dudes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Maybe he was showing him a clip from Speed on Fox.
Maybe.
Fueled by
Never
fire.
know.
Who knows? Ford has been testing their new LMDH car, and it sounds monstrous. It looks great. And I love this. I love this for endurance racing. I love seeing the manufacturers being there. I was going to say coming back. They've been coming back for years. It's such a strong time for endurance racing.
It is. And I think that having Ford and, with their F1 presence, and obviously we see everything that they do here, but man, I love the sound of these cars. Yeah. They sound so badass.
So cool. Driving around Circuit Paul Ricard. That became my second home in the early 2000s.
Really?
Yeah, I think I spent more time at that track than I did in my own house.
Testing?
Yeah, just testing.
Constantly.
Testing. Yeah, I love it, mate. Like, it's a track basically on top of a range of hills in the south of France. So every night you go down to the coast, sit down there. It's in the middle of the Bandol wine region. So it's like great wine, great food, beautiful sights, cracking racetrack. Yeah, it's
fun stuff.
Mate, it's amazing. Let's hop aboard the world record drift car train. This is pretty cool.
This is, yeah. I saw this video and the coordination that it takes to do all this.
Have you ever done much drifting?
I did the drifting stuff with Bowman, but I got to drive the car a couple times that day. It's a lot more complicated than what you think it is.
I bet.
Looking at what it is to be good at it. I was out there flailing around like a fish out of water, trying to figure it all out. But
I can
it's fun.
barely get a car around a track when it's pointing straight, let alone when it's sideways. Like, nah.
That's cool.
I don't think I'd be very good at that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure what this one is, but apparently there's a new Mercedes model. I haven't seen this. Oh, that's very good.
That's awesome.
That's great.
I love the
Mercedes F1 toaster.
The flame coming out of the back.
Brilliant. Wasn't the joke about the US F1 team that the only thing they actually managed to build back in the day was a toaster? They were based here, weren't they, in Charlotte? I've probably caused some controversy there because I think Speed originally had something to do with it.
Did that really ever? That team never even got off the ground, did it?
Never got off the ground.
No.
Never got
That's
off the
what I
ground.
thought.
Let's see if they cut that one from the final edit. Last one is simply entitled, You Had One Job. What's this? Oh, that's mean. This is mean. And I take my hat off to the incredible marshals around the world who keep us safe and allow us to go racing. That's cruel, guys. He ran out to get the piece. Honestly, if you had a car hurtling towards you at 180 miles an hour, I think you'd probably panic and get off the track as quick as you could as well.
Yeah, but you got to
pick that one.
You got to pick up the debris, Will. Come on.
Of course you. Yeah, but
they
send them out so late, running onto the track, and then you hear the cars coming. You're like, I'm getting off.
I don't blame you for wanting to get out in front of the car. That's for sure.
Nor me. Right, that's that for this week. Time now for the mailbag. We've already done one question this week, which was for you about IROC. You can, of course, get in touch with us on social at Speed on Fox with any questions you might have for us. And we've had one in. I really like this one because the question is, if all series worked it out, would you like to see INDYCAR, NASCAR, NHRA, and High Limit or World of Outlaws all come together for a massive race weekend in Charlotte? I actually love this because this show's all about a love of racing, right?
Absolutely.
If we could bring everyone together for one weekend where everything happened in one place, and Charlotte feels like like a
you
solid
could,
choice.
you could do a
track.
street race down around the city.
You could.
For the Indy cars.
That's not a bad idea. It's not a bad shout.
And then we could have the NASCAR race. We could do like a speed week. So you could start on one Sunday, end on the next Sunday. You could have the World of Outlaws or High Limits, whatever sprint car series that you want. You could have the late models. You could run legend cars. You could run all kinds of stuff at Charlotte.
We'd need a week.
Yeah.
We'd need a week to fit it.
We're going to need a week.
We should call it Speed Week.
Yeah, Charlotte Speed Weeks.
We'll sponsor it. Have it be the Speed with Harvick and Speed Week with Harvick.
It would be
and Buxton.
expensive.
I mean, I'm not saying we're going to pay for it.
Oh, I got you. You're saying the show.
Well, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe Poet.
Yeah.
We'll put it on them. We'll put it on them. It'd be great though, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, to be able to do those types of, because Charlotte already does it. Like they have the dirt finals there at the end of the year at the dirt track. They've got the 4 wide drag strip right there behind the dirt track.
Come on.
You've got the oval right there. We could pretty much race anything.
Is Charlotte the Roval?
We have the Roval.
Yeah. So you could do IndyCar there, no?
You could, but I think just from the time that it would take to get everything set up.
Oh, fair.
Everything done.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know,
so we'll do a street race in
Street
Charlotte.
race in the Queen City.
Bam.
Right around the football stadium.
Perfect.
Maybe we can even have a football game at some point. Thursday night football.
Come on.
Yeah.
Just get everything in one place at one time.
That'd be great.
I freaking love that.
We can dream all this stuff up, but we have no ability to pay for it.
If this week proves anything, it's that having a dream and having the kind of the tenacity to see it through can result in great things. Never say never.
Never say never. But I would have never dreamed that you guys were able to pull off that event.
Nor me. Even a week ago.
Yeah.
And yet here we are. It is time to go around the racing world, and we start with NHRA. Doug Coletta continued his red-hot summer by driving around Justin Ashley in the final round with a 3.71 second pass to claim his second consecutive Brainerd victory and solidify his top fuel points lead. In funny car, Matt Hagan scored his first win of the season at Brainerd International Raceway, defeating rookie Jordan Vandergriff in the final run with a 3.91 second run at 326 miles an hour. Pro Stock, Greg Anderson secured his milestone 116th career Pro Stock victory and 5th career Brainerd Wally, chasing down Chris Vang in the final round to take the win by 7 feet. In IMSA, at Virginia International Raceway, FAF Motorsports put on a clinic in the Michelin GT Challenge. Andrea Caldarelli and Sandy Mitchell led 69 of 84 laps from pole position in their Lamborghini to score back-to-back IMSA wins, while Philip Ellis and Russell Ward grabbed their third straight GTD victory for Winward Racing with a late race pass. Alexander Sims, you can see from that horrible replay, walked away unhurt after that violent opening lap crash at VAR, where his number 3 Corvette went airborne into the tyre barrows following contact in the S's. It was evaluated, released from the infield care centre shortly after the incident.
Over in the ARCA Menard Series, Max Reeves won on the dirt at the Illinois State Fairgrounds after starting from the pole. Reeves led a majority of the Calypso 100 to capture his first career ARCA dirt track victory, holding off Isaac Kitzmiller and Thomas Annunziata to take the checkered flag. But it wasn't without some controversy. Max was into the back of a couple cars, and when he got out of the car, there were definitely some boos that were pretty loud. It was definitely not a popular win from the grandstands.
Well, there we go.
Always exciting on the dirt in ARCA.
High Limit California, and Aaron Reutzel kicked off High Limit's West Coast swing on Thursday night by snatching his 9th win of the season and extending his championship with 10 feature events remaining this season. Corey Day dominated the weekend by sweeping the High Limit slate with a win at Thunderbowl, tying Kyle Larson for 3rd on the all-time wins list before dominating Saturday at Placerville to secure his 6th victory of the season in just 13 starts.
On Saturday, Logan Schuchart snatched the win at Jackson Motorplex, outdueling Hodenshield in a late race fight for the top spot.
In racing news down under this week, Supercars were back in action at Queensland Raceway in Ipswich. Brodie Kostecki took Friday's opening race. Will Brown broke a 12-month winless streak to take Saturdays, and Brock Feeney sealed the weekend with a victory in Sunday's finale. Feeney's victory moved him to the top of the standings, 30 points ahead of Matty Payne. In AMA Motocross, Hunter Lawrence dominated Budds Creek with a 1-1 moto sweep to capture his 6th 450 class overall victory of the season. The win creates an 11-point swing that puts him back on top of the Pro Motocross Championship standings, holding a paper-thin 1-point lead over his brother Jet heading into the final round. The brothers will duel for the title this weekend at Ironman Raceway in Indiana.
Turning to the Cars Tour in Anderson, South Carolina, and Anderson Motor Speedway Saturday night delivered a pair of first-time winners. Carson Lofton overcame a late race penalty and pulled off a wild last-lap pass to score his first career late model stock victory. Meanwhile, Brody Monahan led every single lap from the pole to earn his first late model win.
I'm sure you want to talk a little bit more about that.
It was... Look, we went down there with Keelan to South Carolina to run his first Cars Tour late model stock event. They had an awesome crowd, and they had this section of college students in turn one, and these kids were absolutely through the roof excited. Every time a car would come around the racetrack, it brought a vibe to the racetrack like no other. But we had some great racing. The late model stock finish was unbelievable. With all the cars there 3 wide at the finish. But Keelan did a great job in his debut. And as a dad, I wanted to throw up about 15 times that day, just with all the pressure and everything that was going on. But he did a great job. And man, I love to watch all those guys race in that tour. They just, it's the best late model series in the country right now from a competition standpoint. In qualifying, first to 12th. First to 10th was 7/100ths of a second.
Get out.
7/100ths of a second was the difference in time.
That's
unbelievably
crazy.
Competitive. Yeah. Great place for him to learn.
I love what you're saying about the part of the bleachers that's full of the college students. Like, maybe we should have that at every race. Maybe there should be maybe there should be a stand.
I'm sure we can find the video that Flo had of all those students. But I know they do it at Charlotte Motor Speedway. They invite the college kids out. But I agree.
I think it should be like in the regulations that every racetrack should have a section of grandstand that is allocated for maybe like one day it's full of high school kids, and the next day it's full of like college kids, and bring them in for free and introduce them to racing, or if they already love racing, have them down. But I remember first time I ever went to the Grand Prix in China, in Shanghai, and they filled the grandstands with school kids,
Really?
high school age kids.
No kidding.
Right? And probably, I want to say, I'm probably not overdoing it by saying maybe 20,000 kids.
Wow.
Right? Like, the whole circuit was just full of kids for the first day, because no one in China knew what Formula One was when we went for the first time. So they just packed the grandstand out with school kids. Then a couple of years ago, we go back to Shanghai, Formula One's racing there, and Zhou Guanyu becomes the first Chinese driver to race at the Chinese Grand Prix. You want to know the first time he saw a Formula One car?
That race.
He was one of those kids.
No kidding.
In the grandstand that day, the first time we ever went to China, and he was there on a school trip with all his mates, and he decided that day, that's what I want to do with my life.
When I was a kid, racing was not really the cool thing to do. You went to the football games on Friday night, or you went to soccer games or basketball games. But those all happened for the most part on Thursday and Friday. And as I started racing, it kind of became the cool thing to do. We had our own section for our high school.
That's so cool.
At the racetrack, because all the kids wanted to go watch the races on Saturday night, and they wanted to, I was going to the high school, and they wanted to come watch you race. So we had our own section at the short track.
Well, again, playing into, this weekend in DC. It was a free ticketed affair, and there were people there this weekend who had never been to a race in their lives. And some people who weren't even race fans who just came along because they thought it'd be a cool thing to do. How cool would it be if every racetrack in America had a section of grandstand that was free tickets for school kids?
Yeah.
I think it would be great.
I know that there was not one of these kids had a shirt on. Every kid there was drinking beer and had their shirt off, but they were having the time of their life. So I agree. It's just, and it introduces them to the sport. Not only are they having a good time, they're like, man, I want to go back. And that's what you want as a promoter.
I believe that children are the future.
It's a great song.
Treat them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside and let them fall in love with racing. Anyway, driver of the week time now. We've already stated, of course, that Kyle Kirkwood is on the list for that brilliant win at the Freedom 250. We cannot let this week pass without putting Jeff Gordon on the list for a double success in IROC. And if I'm correct, he'd never driven on a street track before, right? He'd raced road courses, but never street courses.
Oh, no. Yeah.
So Jeff Gordon is now 2 for 2 on street courses in his career.
I don't know exactly. I didn't have the greatest time on street courses because it's just a different animal.
Right,
so it can be
totally
very intimidating. So Jeff definitely put on a clinic. And that's who I voted for.
Well, I was going to finish it off. Lando Norris was the other one that we put on there, and obviously Blaney.
Yeah. I'm going for the old guy.
You went for Gordon?
Yeah.
I also went for Jeff Gordon.
Dude,
come on. When are we ever going to get to do this again? Of course I went for Jeff Gordon. Who have the fans gone for? Of course. You guys don't let us down ever. Yes, I think the first time in history that because we normally pick different people.
That's right. It's a unanimous decision.
It is a unanimous decision in the world of racing, and rightly so. The legend that is Jeff Gordon. What percentage of the vote did he get? My eyes are terrible. 56%. Love that.
I just love the fact that the fans recognize how cool of a moment that was.
Yeah,
no
same.
matter what series that it's in. But having him back behind the wheel and being able to race in anything is just a great moment for all of us to watch, everybody who was there. And I think for him personally, it had to feel good to get back in that car.
What an absolute dude.
Yeah.
They build legends differently, don't they? And Jeff most certainly is one of those. Congratulations, Jeff Gordon. Never thought we'd get to say that.
Nope.
Driver of the week. Absolutely wonderful. Okay, as always, we finish off the show with the final lap. The NASCAR Cup Series, we've mentioned it. They're in Daytona this weekend, as is the O'Reilly Series. INDYCAR goes for a doubleheader at the Milwaukee Mile with races on Saturday and Sunday. It's the penultimate race weekend of the season. And MotoGP is in Spain at the Aragon Grand Prix. And that's all we've got time for on this episode, but there's still plenty to come this week. As I mentioned, you'll be hearing from Zach Brown, McLaren Racing CEO, and also, I believe, from Christian Lundgaard. We did a double interview with both of those guys. So you're going to have both of those coming your way a little bit later this week. If you are enjoying the show, do us a favor and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on social media. Jump into the comments. Let us know what you thought and what you want to see next. Thanks, as always, to our friends at Poet. Poet produces high-octane bioethanol, delivering maximum performance with zero carbon intensity. Kevin, you can't beat
Zero.
Bingo. For Kevin Harvick, I've been Will Buxton. Thanks for watching Speed with Harvick and Buxton, fueled by Poet. Now check out the Rex of the Week.